how I made over $300,000 last year during the slowest real estate market within the past 30 years. Let's get to it. So we're going to start with 2024. Let's rewind the clocks actually back to 2023. It was actually October of 2023. I had just got my real estate broker's license. Now, I was already a real estate salesperson, a realtor. I was working in residential sales under the wing of a top producer at a company called Remax. If you guys are in real estate, you probably have heard that name. It's a franchise, a worldwide known franchise. And I was grateful for that opportunity to learn a lot while I was in that position. However, I was feeling called to do something more. And I was also at a crossroads with my life at this time. I was trying to figure out what direction I wanted to take in my life because I had just a year prior or a year and a half prior to that decision in October to get my broker's license, I was going back and forth with potentially pursuing law enforcement still. If you know my story, you know that I had been selected as a deputy U.S. Marshal. Didn't work out. It was part of a time and era during the whole pandemic, and essentially I refused to do certain things. I refused to get certain shots, and so I ended up resigning. So to make a long story longer, I ended up taking a different path. So fast forward to October of 2023, I made the decision I'm going to get my broker's license. I actually made the decision prior to that. However, I actually got my real estate broker's license in October of 2023 from what I remember, if I recall correctly. And in December of 2023, I start and launch my own company. It's a brokerage. And I totally pivoted. And instead of focusing on residential sales, I focused on commercial real estate. I thought in my head, bigger sale, bigger deal, more commission, more money. Well, fast forward, I come to learn that the turn is not only a lot longer than residential, from acquiring a customer or a client to sell their property to actually closing on the deal. You can take anywhere from 90 days to 180 days, 6 months. I still have some listings right now that are sitting for almost 6 months. And so the turn, if you're not priced very competitively in this market, especially for commercial real estate, it is a challenge. And not to mention, real estate transactions across the board are down over 50% in commercial real estate sales across, at least for my market, Southern California. It's probably a nationwide statistic. Now, I went from December of 2023 to almost 6 months later. So what would that be? June, I believe June of 2024, until I made my first commission check on my own as my own company, my own entity, my own brokerage. Did it all on my own with the help and assistance of only one transaction coordinator, and we got it done. And I ultimately double-ended that deal. I represented both the seller and the buyer. Then my momentum started. I started stacking deal after deal, and I ended up closing somewhere around 11 buildings that year. And hence I made over $300,000, which 11 deals doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're selling bigger properties, the commissions are bigger. But for certain, the barrier to entry on commercial real estate is higher. So the point of the video is this. I'm not trying to show off. I'm trying to say that during the most challenging real estate market within the past 30 years, I was able, and if I'm able to do this, I was able to generate over $300,000 in gross commissions earned with my first year officially in business. Now, where are we projected now? We're projected to make well over $500,000 this year. I could probably do more than that depending on what happens with these listings that are currently we've got. So into the meat of the matter here. How did I actually accomplish that? How did I do that? Somebody with no name, no reputation, and a brand new company with no big name backing me. I wasn't with Remax. I had my own small brokerage that I started. You know what I did? I did the hard thing no one wants to do. And that's generally the thing that most people need to do in their business. They're probably, like I was when I was in residential sales, neglecting the one thing that you know you should be doing in order to actually move the needle in your business and generate a substantial income, something that's truly life-changing. And mind you, before this, I never made more than probably 170, 150,000, 180,000, give or take, somewhere around that ballpark. And I literally doubled my income the first year in commercial real estate. And it wasn't because of the industry. Like, jumping to commercial did not all of a sudden present this opportunity on a silver platter that I was going to just make massive amounts of income or create massive amounts of income because I was getting into a new industry that was hot. It was the opposite. So what did I do? I actually picked up the phone and talked to new people. I put myself in an uncomfortable position. I'll never forget 7 months without going with any income. And mind you, I've got a family, I've got 2 kids, I've got a wife, I have a mortgage, I have a house. Right now we're staying in an Airbnb because we're doing a remodel on our house. But the point is my back was against the wall. And it got to the point where I realized the only way I'm going to make this happen is I have to go directly to the source, to the property owners, and try to find opportunities of how I can serve more people and meet new people. I had no connections. I had no network. I had nothing. And I was going into territories, picking up the phone and calling property owners. If you know anything about real estate, on the commercial side, it's kind of like the Wild Wild West. There's a very small niche of older real estate brokers and brokerages that have been in the business for a very long time, and they're set in their old school ways of doing things. It's almost like its own little fraternity. It's almost like you would call it like a good old boys club, right? They have their own lingo. They have their own way of doing business. They don't like outsiders, generally speaking. Most of them have been kind to me, but there are some that have been standoffish because I'm this new young blood coming in with this random company, and I'm taking some pretty significant listings and client opportunities. So I had my back against the wall, and I realized, like, okay, law enforcement's not going to happen. I'm not going down that path. Financial freedom is truly what's most important to me and my family right now. So I picked up the phone. I got a software called Mojo Dialer, which is a triple line dialer. I purchased a software called Batch Leads. I think it's batchleads.io, and that helps you scrub data, and you can find specific property owners. You can really narrow in the property criteria of what you're looking for, your ideal client, your ideal avatar of who you want to prospect to. And so I just put together lists, figured out an asset class that I was somewhat familiar with, and I picked up the damn phone and I just started calling. And I spoke with confidence, like I knew what I was doing, even though there was definitely a level of doubt in my head because I didn't know all the ins and outs of commercial real estate. And I would argue that you'll never be perfect at it. It's an ongoing learning process. It's a very analytical business, and I'm not a very analytical person. I'm going to be completely honest, but I am good with sales and marketing. I would say I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm pretty good at having a conversation with someone, getting people to open up, and I'm a decent salesperson. You know, I've invested in myself over the years in sales training and how to speak and communicate effectively to actually get people to open up, disarm, and not feel like they're getting sold, but they actually feel like it's a collaborative effort to get them what they actually want. And that's the key to sales. So, all right, so I had Mojo Dialer, I had Batch Leads, I pulled lists from Batch Leads, I imported the CVS files or CSV files, I believe it's called, into the Mojo Dialer, and I would sit and I would literally make calls for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day for 6 months straight, 5, sometimes 6 days a week. And I would be doing this out in my garage. I had a little office built out in my garage. It was hot during the summers. I had no air conditioning, and I'd literally sit out there and I'd be making these damn calls. I did whatever it took, and thank God I did, because I wouldn't be where I am today. Building a custom home in Southern California and the projections of what we're going to do this year for business. And now I'm looking at office space in order to go and focus and be able to grow my business even further. So I hope that in this video that this provides some lessons to you as a man, as a provider, whether you're a man or a woman and you're the provider, that when your back's against the wall, more than likely the thing you really got to do is probably that thing that's the most uncomfortable activity. Meaning it's probably that one thing that's in your life that you've been neglecting, that you've been pushing off to the side and distracting yourself with other noises and nonsense that are not high income producing activities. And for me and our business, it is picking up the phone and talking to property owners, building relationships and seeing how I can serve more people, meet new people, because it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. And I need to build more relationships and have more one-on-one conversations at the highest level possible, and then staying in front of them over time with a CRM. I did invest in a CRM as well. Top Producer is what I'm using, which is more geared towards residential, but either way it works. The point of a CRM is just keep people top of mind, be able to put task reminders, and then email campaigns. So if they provide an email to me, maybe they're not ready to sell now, or maybe in the future, I can put them on that Top Producer CRM, and I have a whole campaign built out where it'll send them automatic emails periodically, once a month or once every 3 weeks or so, to stay top of mind in front of that person. So I don't have to continuously picking up that phone and bugging them because you're not really adding value with that unless there's something relevant that I can bring to them, like maybe a recent comp in the area that just sold or something that just came up for sale. But again, batch leads, Mojo Dialer, a good CRM, and just good old-fashioned grit. I don't care if you're in residential sales or if you're in commercial sales or you're in sales in general or you have a business in general. If nobody knows who you are, you're not going to do any business. You could have the best product or service, and I'm sure you've heard this. You could have the best product or service, but if nobody knows about it, you're not going to sell anything. So to wrap things up, it's not about the market you're in. It's not even about the industry. It's about how you move within what you're being given, what the circumstances are. How are you pivoting when things are tough and challenging? When everybody's fleeing your industry or fleeing or exiting something, a business that you're pursuing, that may be the time to consider doubling down. And instead of when 99% are going the opposite direction, you're the 1% that goes the other way.